Hello and welcome to ShowMeAcademy.com. In this tutorial, we're going to show you how to manage and delete your browsing history in Microsoft Internet Explorer 7. When Microsoft Internet Explorer is running, it keeps a history of all the pages that you have visited. By default, it will show you a history for the last 20 days of activity that you've had in the browser. If you want to view the history, you can click over here on the favorites button, and instead of showing favorites you can select history, and you'll see here that it shows you, it'll have it sorted by day, and in this case it shows me just today, and it shows me all the pages that I've viewed on the web today. Now, as you might imagine, there might be times when you don't want that history to be stored in the browser, especially if you're in a shared environment where multiple people will be using the same machine. So if you want to change the amount of time that it takes to remove this data from memory, or if you want to manually just get rid of the data, there are ways to do that. We'll show you how. First of all, I want you to go to the Tools menu, and from here click Internet Options, and the Internet Options window pops up, and the General tab is here by default, and we'll be using this under the Browsing History section. And from here, click first on Settings, and you'll notice when it comes up with this window, the Temporary Internet Files and History Settings window, the bottom section will be for History, and this specifies, as it says here, how many days Internet Explorer should save the list of websites you have visited, and days to keep pages in history. By default, when you get this out of the box, so to speak, this value is set to 20. So it will keep your last 20 days worth of browsing history here in memory. But you might decide that you don't want that much memory kept, or you might want it increased. You'll see in my case, I've actually moved it down to 0. In other words, I want it just to remember the sites that I've been at today, and when a new day dawns, I want it to forget every site that I've been to. So I have set it to 0. But you can, of course, manage this and move this up or down as you so choose. As I said, it will start by default at 20. You can even move it up if you like. You might want to have a much longer history of web pages that you visited, especially if you want to go back and browse through that history to see where you've been. But in my case, I'm going to put it back to 0 and click OK. And I'll click OK on here. And going back to the History tab, that's why it only shows me today, because it's keeping things for 0 days in memory. In other words, it's going to go 0 days into the past to see what sites I've been to. If I had this set to say 20, it would give me other options for previous days and weeks. But because I have it set to 0, it only shows me the pages that I've been to today. Now, even if you set that much lower, like I did, putting it on 0, as you can see, it still keeps at least some history of the pages that I have been to in the last 24 hours. You might want to just get rid of all those pages altogether. So in order to do that, you would go to Tools, Internet Options, click on Browse, or go to Browsing History on the General tab. But this time we're not going to click on Settings. We're going to click on Delete. When I do this, it brings up a whole host of options, and the one that we're going to concentrate on here is under the History section. You can see it says the list of websites you have visited. Now, first I want you to click on the Delete History button, and you'll see this is going to come up with a prompt to ensure that we really want to delete these pages. It says, are you sure you want to delete your history of visited websites? And I'll click Yes. And from there I will close, and I'll click OK. And now, when I go back and view my history, you'll notice there's nothing there. It has wiped these pages out of memory. So that's the way that you can change the number of days by which the browser saves your pages, and is also the way that you can go in and manually tell it to delete the pages that you have in memory. This concludes this tutorial, and thank you for using ShowMeAcademy.com.